Our next speaker this evening is Dru Perry. Dru will be graduating this spring and is double majoring in criminal justice and sociology. Dru was born and raised in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. She is also a student athlete for the MSUM swim and dive team and has worked as an RA and desk manager for the Housing and Residential Life Department for 3 years. Funny story, actually, Dru was my RA my freshman year here at MSUM, and she was one of the driving forces that made me feel so much more comfortable here at MSUM, despite the challenges that the fall of 2020 and the spring of 2021 brought us. So I'm so excited to hear her speak tonight. In her talk, Dru will be discussing the strong Black woman stereotype and her experience with it. Let's welcome Dru to the stage with a round of applause.
Yes, Lauren was one of my babies, and I love her so much, and I'm so glad that she is still here. Once again, I am Dru Perry. The strong Black woman. She is unbreakable, resilient, almost superhuman. She's the type of woman that can stand all kinds of tribulations and come out even stronger. She is the human embodiment of what doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. Strong is such a loaded word when used to describe Black women. It's beautiful, but also dangerous. It both buoys and burdens Black women with the myth that we are perpetually tough and uniquely indestructible. The motto, "we must lift as we climb," is taught and ingrained in all Black girls, Black women, and we continue to pass this teaching down from generation to generation. As we teach and live life like a strong Black woman, our physical and mental health are in jeopardy when assuming this role. In an article by Therapy for Black Girls, author Shimmery Holmes says, it's admirable to be deemed a strong woman amidst an unfavorable society that operates according to an unconscious code riddled with inequity and misogyny. The strong Black woman stereotype is a century-old cultural trope that cuts as deep as a double-edged sword for most Black women in our country. Black women have been taught to internalize this persona as if it were some sort of cultural badge of honor. Despite being discriminated against in employment, education, and healthcare sectors alike, Black women are expected to just tough it up and keep pushing. Many Black women in our country report feeling pressure to act like Superwoman, projecting themselves as strong, self-sacrificing, and free of emotions to cope with the stress of race and gender-based discrimination in daily lives. In the media, there are 2 shows that depict the cultural trope of the strong Black woman, and those shows are Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder. For those of you who haven't seen those shows, Scandal is a political thriller that focuses on the career of Olivia Pope, and How to Get Away with Murder is a show that features Annalise Keating, a law professor and brilliant legal mind. Raise your hand if you've seen those shows. Few of you, yes. Olivia Pope and Annalise Keating, both Black women, have constantly shown TV audiences how to win. But within their winnings, it almost always comes at the expense of themselves. Olivia Pope and Annalise Keating demonstrate the expectation to perform like superhumans while being treated subhuman, making it harder for Black people around them, or not making it harder for people around them to see Black women and the full spectrum of our lived experience, and it makes it difficult for us to see ourselves. In those shows, you see both Annalise Keating and Olivia Pope falling into addictive behavior, such as drinking, to cope with the stress of being a strong Black woman. Too often, we think that what we see on TV is reality, and shows like that shape how we think. How the strong Black woman stereotypes exist in our entertainment can have a real-world impact. In recent months, there was a woman who seemed to have it all. Beautiful, talented, smart. She was a Division I athlete, an attorney, and the 2019 Miss USA pageant winner. Her name was Chelsea Christ. She presented herself as strong and resilient. After her reign as Miss USA, she became a correspondent for Extra, and lived in a luxurious apartment building in New York City. Society believed that she lived a good life. In 2020, Chelsea Christ discussed how she took care of her mental health. This is what she said in an interview. There are 3 things I'm doing with regard to self-care. Number 1, I try to set a regular schedule so my alarm rings at 6:45 a.m. I know that I'm getting up and starting my day. 2, I try to set very clear boundaries. So even when I'm home and I've got my computer and my cell phone, by 6 o'clock, I am done, it's over with. And number 3, she says, I have a regular workout schedule that keeps my mind and body sharp. We hear those things and believe that what she's doing is amazing. We saw the glamorous lifestyle, her accomplishments, and even believed her self-care routine. But as a society, we failed to see her carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders and showing the world how strong she was. Chelsea Christ ended up taking her life in January of 2022. She was a strong Black woman that was strong enough for everyone else, but forgot to put herself first. How do you know if you're a strong Black woman? Dr. Cheryl Giscombe developed what she calls the Black Superwoman schema and says there are 5 characteristics of the Black Superwoman. 1 is a perceived obligation to present an image of strength. The 2nd is a perceived obligation to suppress emotions. The 3rd is resistance to vulnerability or dependence on help from others. The 4th is a motivation to succeed despite limited resources. And the 5th is prioritization of caregiving or providing care to others, in contrast of balancing that with self-care. Those 5 resonate with me. Since I was 9 years old, I was awarded the Strong Black Woman crown. I thought being strong would make me invincible to the world. I woke up every morning putting on a body of armor for protection against the world and didn't even know it. Growing up, none of my friends of color showed emotion out in the public, but when we were in private, we would cry and express how we felt. We had practiced masking our emotions, just as our mothers and our grandmothers did. Since being in college, I have gone through some pretty heavy stuff. Being a college athlete and being 1,000 miles away from home was a burden that I carried in silence. I believed I couldn't ask for help or show my emotions. From the Black women that mentored me and societal pressures, I believed that showing that I was human was a sign of weakness, and my armor became heavier each day. During my time here, my body of armor burdened me, and instead of feeling protected and insulated, I felt isolated. I felt like every day I couldn't take off my armor, but I was adding more and more weight. I felt like no one could protect me from what I was dealing with but me. The everyday racism and harassment I dealt with made me feel emotionally and physically trapped. Everyone was telling me, Dru, you are so strong, you can handle anything that comes your way. Don't let what they're saying or doing affect you. Every time I heard that, it made me upset because the reality was that I was dying on the inside. I was confused as to why people couldn't understand that I was human and that I had feelings and they had been hurt. I would call my mother every day crying because I felt like no one understood me, and what better else to call another Black woman who can relate to me. As my mom would hear my pain, I could hear her pain because she knew she could not protect her child. I knew I couldn't keep going on like this. Going into the fall semester of 2021, I realized I needed help. I could no longer hide what I was feeling because no matter how much I tried, something kept telling me to let it out. Be vulnerable, go get help, and it's okay to cry. I couldn't be the superwoman people needed me to be. I went to counseling and started to get the help I needed. I'm not completely out of my armor, but I work hard every day to make sure that I can decrease the weight that I am carrying. So how do we combat this? To all my Black women that are here and present, please know that there is strength in asking for help. You do not have to do it by yourself. Know that it is okay to feel. Please remember that you are human, you deserve to be loved, and you deserve to be cared for and loved. To the rest of my audience, if you truly want to be an ally to Black women, it's time to stop expecting Black women to be strong and start allowing us to be human. Strong is not the rent we pay to exist as Black women in this world. Please know and understand that Black women don't owe the world our spirit if it means breaking it. The most radical thing society can do for Black women is throw off the shackles forged by the strong Black woman stereotype and afford us a full and complex humanity that allows us to be capable, strong, and independent, but also carried and cared for. We need a world in which Black women can truly accept that allowing for physical and emotional vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a part of being human. We need a world in which Black women don't need to be so strong. We need a world in which we can be celebrated for everything else we can be. We need a world that sees us as fully human. Thank you.